I stood there in the check-in line at Seattle-Tacoma International, clutching my carry-on like a lifeline, trying not to tremble. This trip was supposed to be my tiny escape, a calm weekend after years of non-stop chaos. I'd saved for it quietly, booked everything on my own, even kept it a secret from my family because I already knew what would happen if they found out. But somehow, they always find out, don't they? I slid my passport and ticket to the woman behind the counter. She smiled, scanned, frowned, scanned again. "I'm sorry, Miss Carver," she said finally, "but this ticket was canceled an hour ago." "What?" I blinked, feeling my heart drop. She turned her monitor toward me. "Canceled online. Refunded to a card ending in 1182. My throat tightened. I knew that number. That was my father's card. I stepped away from the counter, fumbling for my phone, palms slick. I hadn't told them about the flight, but last week my dad had been snooping again. He'd called, casually fishing for details. I'd said too much. "Just taking a few days off," I'd told him. "A little break. Don't worry." Big mistake. That was all he needed to dig in and destroy it. Hey guys, if you've ever had family sabotage your plans, pause for a second, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to hear how this one ends. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Have fun walking home, princess." I stared at the screen, frozen. My own father had canceled my flight, the one I paid for, just to remind me who was in control. Behind me, a little girl in a Minnie Mouse hoodie tripped, and her mom caught her before she hit the ground. That tiny moment of love hit me like a punch. I turned away, walking fast, trying not to fall apart in public. Inside the airport restroom, I locked myself in a stall, sat on the lid, and finally broke. Not because of the lost vacation, but because, deep down, I'd known this was never about one ruined trip. It was about a lifetime of it. Years of being told I was dramatic, ungrateful, difficult, while they pampered my brother, Logan, the golden child. He got the car at 16, the private tutor, the new sneakers every month. I got used textbooks and life lessons. I wiped my face, looked at myself in the mirror. Same tired eyes, same determination. I wasn't crying because I was weak. I was crying because I was finally done pretending they loved me the same. Another text popped up. "Mom, don't be silly, Emma. Go to Logan's if you're stranded." Yeah, Logan. The same brother who once kicked me out during finals week because his girlfriend needed space. I didn't respond. I just opened my rideshare app and stared at the price, wondering if I even had enough to get back across town. Then a small silver sedan pulled up beside me. The driver rolled down his window. "You okay, miss? You look like the world just ran you over." I laughed weakly. "Close. A text." He smiled softly. "Rough family?" I nodded. "You could say that." "Hop in," he said. "I'm off shift, but I'll get you wherever you need to go." Something about him, the gray in his beard, the calm in his voice, made me trust him instantly. I got in. "Where to?" he asked. I almost said home, but the word felt wrong. "Nowhere. Just drive for a bit." He nodded. No questions, just understanding. We drove in silence for a while, city lights melting into streaks across the windshield. For the first time in forever, I didn't feel like I had to explain myself. I just talked. Not small talk, real talk, about my parents, about Logan, about how every time I tried to take a step forward, they yanked me 2 steps back. The driver, he eventually told me his name was Raymond, didn't interrupt. He just listened. That kind of silence felt like mercy. After half an hour, he pulled into a quiet park overlooking the water. You know, he said softly, I have a daughter. Reminds me a bit of you. Stronger than she realizes. I smiled faintly. She's lucky to have you. He gave a small, sad laugh. She ran off to Chicago 5 years ago. Haven't heard from her since. Every time I pick someone up, I hope it's her. Something twisted in my chest. I think she's probably doing okay, I said. We sat there for a long time, listening to the rain start to patter against the windshield. It wasn't awkward, it was peace. And for the first time that day, I wasn't scared. When I finally looked down at my phone, my lock screen glowed back at me. I opened a folder I hadn't touched in months, labeled Plans B and Beyond. Inside were files and screenshots, things I'd built in secret. Years ago, back in college, I'd taken a finance elective just to fill a requirement. But I fell in love with it. After that, I worked double shifts, freelanced, interned for nothing, learning, growing, saving. And slowly, I started investing. At first, it was tiny. A few stocks, then a small property. Then another. No one knew. My parents thought I was broke because I drove an old Honda and rented a basement suite. They didn't know that the house they were living in, the one they rented from a sweet old lady, was under my company's name. They didn't know that Emma Carver quietly owned everything they took for granted. They didn't know I was sitting on just over $75 million in assets. They didn't know their cruelty wasn't breaking me anymore. It was setting me free. Raymond looked at me. You look lighter, he said. I think I am, I whispered. I think I'm done being their daughter. He blinked. What do you mean? I smiled faintly, looking out at the dark lake. I think I'm about to become their landlord. The drive back to the suburbs felt unreal. The air outside looked softer. The streets quieter. Or maybe it was just me seeing everything differently for once. Not as the kid walking home from another argument, but as someone finally stepping into her own story. When Raymond dropped me off near the corner, I thanked him. He smiled, tapping the steering wheel. You go be the storm, kid. The street was familiar. Same cracked sidewalks, same flickering lampposts. Their house sat at the end, beige siding, overgrown lawn, Logan's shiny SUV in the driveway. It looked exactly how I remembered it, except now it was legally mine. I opened the mailbox. A stack of envelopes spilled out, most addressed to Carver Holdings, LLC. Rent checks, including theirs. For a moment, I just stood there, breathing. Then I walked up the path, duffel bag slung over my shoulder, and pushed the door open without knocking. My mom looked up from the couch, frowning. Why are you here? Dad stepped out of the kitchen, chewing loudly on something. Thought we canceled your little vacation. Shouldn't you be off sulking somewhere? At the counter, Logan smirked, filing his nails like a sitcom villain. Guess the charity flight fell through, huh? Shame. I didn't say a word, just set my bag down and pulled out a manila envelope. Dad squinted. What's that supposed to be? An eviction notice, I said evenly, sliding one copy onto the counter, one on the fridge, one on the stairs. Mom laughed. Excuse me? You're 3 months behind on rent, I said calmly. Under the agreement you signed with Carver Holdings, LLC. That's me, lease terminated. Dad's face darkened. You don't own this house. Oh, I do. I tapped the papers. Bought it 2 years ago through a private trust. Let you stay out of pity. But the text you sent earlier, the one calling me a loser, that's not the kind of tenant I keep. They all stared, silent, like I'd just spoken another language. Logan set down his nail file and barked a laugh. You're bluffing. I smiled, unlocking my phone and pressing play on a voice memo. Mom's voice filled the air. Let's cancel her flight. Teach her not to keep secrets. Always ungrateful. Maybe she'll get stranded. Dad's voice followed. Serves her right. Their words, crisp, undeniable, recorded through a baby monitor I'd hidden in my bag last week. Mom gasped. You spied on us. No, I said quietly. I documented my property being occupied by emotional squatters. Dad's jaw tightened. You can't do this. You sure? I asked. Because I already did. Behind me, my phone buzzed. Notification, $14,400 paid by Logan Carver. Logan slammed his hand on the counter. You said rent was delayed. Only because you laughed when I tripped last Christmas. Remember, holding gifts for your kids? His face froze. I took a step closer. You know what else I remember? Serving your family dinner while mine sat on the floor because they weren't real cousins. Don't twist this, Emma, Mom snapped. I'm not twisting anything, I said, voice steady, just replaying it. I walked upstairs. The hallway walls were still lined with photos. All Logan, not one of me. Every frame, every print, bought with my money. They'd used my old Amazon account for it. I recognized the receipts. In the guest room, my old bedroom, I found a bin. My sketchbooks, ribbons, acceptance letters, all shoved into plastic. I took a photo, then dumped the contents into a trash bag and dragged it outside. Back inside, Logan was on the phone, whisper yelling to his wife. Dad was pacing. Mom looked pale. I set my keys on the table. You have 3 days, I said. After that, the sheriff files the paperwork. Mom's voice cracked. We raised you. No, I said softly. You drained me and called it love. And then I left. If you're still watching, you're officially part of this story now. Drop a comment if you've ever had to walk away from toxic family. And yeah, hit that subscribe button. A week slipped by faster than I expected. The first 3 days, they called nonstop. Voicemails, guilt trips, even a few threats. I didn't answer once. I'd said what I needed to say. On the 4th morning, I filed the eviction with the county office. Every form, every document, perfectly prepared months ago. By Thursday, a deputy pulled up in front of the house, clipboard in hand. Calm, professional, untouchable. My parents stood on the porch like they were watching their world cave in. Mom tried to plead. Dad shouted about family loyalty. Logan wasn't there. He'd packed the night before, dragging designer luggage out while yelling into his phone. Turns out, his wife hadn't known he drained their joint account to pay the overdue rent. She did now. The movers were quick, polite, efficient. Piece by piece, they carried out the furniture, the boxes, the remnants of everything they'd built on my back. Mom's voice trembled as she turned to me. Emma, we didn't mean to hurt you. I looked at her. Her carefully styled hair, her gold bracelet, the same one I'd bought for her at 21 on a credit card I couldn't afford. Yes, you did, I said softly. You just never thought I'd matter enough to fight back. She reached for my hand. I didn't take it. Instead, I handed the deputy a sealed envelope. Make sure this stays with the house, I told him. Inside was a photograph, me and my son, smiling by the lake. Underneath, one line written in black ink. This is what a family looks like, not what you built. Mom stared, her eyes filling with something that wasn't remorse, just disbelief that I'd actually done it. Dad muttered something about betrayal, but his voice shook. I walked past them, the gravel crunching under my shoes. Behind me, the house that once felt like a cage stood silent, empty. I got into my car and drove back toward the city. My condo overlooked the bay, wide windows, calm light, the kind of view I used to dream about when I was crying in that tiny basement room. On the kitchen counter, my son's drawing waited for me, stick figures holding hands under a sun, labeled me and Mom. I smiled. For the first time, the word Mom didn't make me feel small or broken. It made me feel real. The past didn't disappear, but it stopped defining me. They'd made me believe I was powerless. Turns out, they were only right until I stopped letting them be. A month later, I drove past that house again. It looked smaller somehow, or maybe I'd just grown beyond it. The lawn was trimmed now, a for lease sign gleaming near the curb. My management company had already listed it. New paint, new locks, new start. My parents had moved to an apartment downtown. Rumor was they hated it. Too cramped, too quiet. But for once, their silence wasn't my responsibility to fix. Logan hadn't called. His perfect life cracked the moment he lost the safety net he thought he'd always have. I didn't feel revenge, just relief. That night, sitting on my balcony, I scrolled through old photos, the ones I used to hide in a folder labeled Someday. Vacations I never took, apartments I wanted to rent, businesses I dreamed of starting. I realized someday had quietly turned into now. I closed my phone and just listened to the city hum below. No screaming voices, no guilt, no one telling me who I should be. I poured a glass of wine and opened the email from my lawyer, confirming that the final transfer papers had cleared. The house, their old house, was officially rented to a young couple with a toddler. The kind of family that laughed together instead of keeping score. That felt right. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need apologies or revenge, just peace, and maybe the quiet satisfaction of knowing they'd finally seen the one thing they'd refused to believe, that the girl they tried to break had built something unshakable. I looked over at my son, asleep on the couch, a blanket half covering him. His little hand twitched in a dream. I smiled. He'd never have to earn love. He'd just have it. Outside, the moon reflected off the bay, silver and still. I whispered to no one in particular, "We're finally free." And maybe, just maybe, I was saying it to that version of myself who once cried in an airport bathroom, the girl who thought she had to be small to be safe. Never again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. Real ones, raw ones, the kind that remind you it's never too late to take your power back.